is Aisha Wahab, which for the first time we can say Congresswoman-elect Wahab. How does that sound to you?
Thank you so much. It sounds good. It sounds perfect.
I mean, this runoff election was a lot closer than the first round. Let's put numbers from round one. You were up nearly 43% to 17% in round one against Melissa Hernandez. Crowded field there. The runoff goes down to the top two. That runoff currently at 53.1 to 47%. What's the big difference, including lesser candidates? Well, AIPAC spent a lot of money. Here's a portion of CNN's reporting on this. We'll put it up on the screen. Ahead of Tuesday's runoff, AIPAC's super PAC arm, United Democracy Project, injected nearly $2 million in advertising attacking Wahab and supporting Hernandez into the race, according to ad impact data, with another $1.9 million coming from Bold America, a group that also receives funding from AIPAC. Should AIPAC be afraid of you in Congress? And do you support U.S. taxpayer funding weapons for Israel?
No, I don't support weapons going out of this country. I think that there's a time and place for war, but just needless war is unnecessary, and I've been very clear about that. I believe in human rights across the board. I've said it a million times as a former foster youth. I think that we should care about the foster youth here in this country and in this county, as well as the kids being detained under United States ICE detention centers, as well as the kids abroad. And what we are seeing is not the American dream or really upholds the American value system across this world. So I think that it's a concern. I do believe in a strong relationship with all countries and all nations, and the United States needs to practice better diplomacy, even with nations where we don't necessarily like their leadership or care for their leadership. And so I think that there is a difference in international relations and how we have gone about it in the last 3 decades. And I will say I'm a kid that grew up in the 9/11 era. And we've seen war after war after war, endless war that didn't actually serve a purpose and created more instability in those regions, which actually does affect both Europe and the United States negatively.
I know you've called what Israel has done in Gaza a genocide. The other side would say that Israel has been one of America's greatest allies over the years, and it's important to have support that state in the Middle East. What do you say to that Israel itself may not be able to exist without the support of the United States?
Two things can be true. As I stated, Israel can be an ally to the United States, but at the same time, we should have the right as American citizens to criticize any foreign nation and their direction. I think that the fact that Israel has bombed multiple countries and largely expects the United States to defend them at every turn, it is our responsibility to say, hey, we're going to kind of rein this in because this is causing a lot of damage to the American people. American soldiers are giving their lives for unnecessary wars and conflict. And, I have called it a genocide, but I also want to be very clear. Human rights is not a zero-sum game. You can support the Palestinian people and their right to exist as well as supporting the Israeli people and their right to exist.
So you're facing off against Melissa Hernandez again in November for the full term. We spoke to her live on election night, and I asked her, what's the biggest difference between the two of you? Watch what she said.
I truly believe that the biggest difference is people know who the Melissa Hernandez is and who the Melissa Hernandez has been. And so when I knock on those doors, it's definitely me being able to engage with voters, to be able to engage with residents within this district.
What do you think she's insinuating there? And how do you answer that question about what's the biggest difference between you two?
Well, I don't think anybody knows the real Melissa Hernandez, and primarily because she has told Republicans she's endorsed by Republican leaders. She's going to work with Republicans. She supports Republican values. And then she tells Democrats that she's going to fight Trump and much more. She's also distorted my record, stating that, I'm a member of DSA and I'm a socialist and radical and all these dog whistles, from darkening my skin to doing a lot of questionable things. She has not denounced it or anything like that. I will say, for me, Our race has always been to try to focus on the positive, try to bring people together to understand that this is one community, that we have to protect our most vulnerable community members, as well as uplift the entire community, right? Even if we don't necessarily understand them. Hopefully as a Congress member, I want to be able to work with my Republican constituencies, serve them, as well as the people that did not vote for me, that also have supported me. And that is kind of the leadership that I'd like to embody, and I have embodied as a state senator. I will also say that this election and the value system that I have is I have a record. I have capped insulin at $35 for a 30-day supply, capped HOA fines to $100, fought, people wearing masks and literally kidnapping people, protected women and children, and so much more. As a kid who ended up in the foster care system because my father was murdered, I prioritize victims first, right?
Yeah.
Not only victims, but the most vulnerable community member.
And I'm out of time, but just in like 1 or 2 sentences, you're the first Afghan American elected to Congress. You're going to be the first to ever serve there. You mentioned the 9/11 generation. What does that mean to you?
It's an honor of a lifetime. It is the American dream to go from foster care to, refugee parents to Congress. That is the fabric and the beauty of the American dream. It is possible. So I'm very proud of that. And to serve this district, that's my ultimate goal, and to really uplift the United States and the people. The people of this country deserve better. And that is the frustration with both parties, is that we need to refocus on the people and course correct.
Aisha Wahab, her first national interview with us here on The Story Is, live from Fremont, California. Again, Congress member-elect. Congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Michael Cohen.